Welcome, and thanks for watching Her Story. Her Story stands for Heroic, Eloquent, Resilient, and Relentless Women. This is a platform that was created to help empower women in telling their stories while empowering others to share their stories as well.
Oh my God, I am so excited to have you on here tonight. Cousin, thank you so much for joining me. We're here for our sixth episode of Her Story. I'm very excited. This is our very first virtual episode that we're doing. And I have my cousin here with me. I'm super excited to have her here with us tonight. I just want to start off by saying really quick, everybody, if you have not done so already, make sure you watch the previous episodes of Her Story. Be sure to like and subscribe. And so we'll get right into it. So tonight I have my wonderful cousin here. I love her so dearly. Denise Thompson-Fleming from back home in Slidell, Louisiana. Denise, I'm just going to start off and let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hello, my name is Denise Thompson Fleming. I reside here in Slidell, Louisiana. I am a mother of three and a grandmother of 10 and a half. I got one on the way. I am a salon owner. I've been in the hair industry for over 33 years, something I absolutely enjoy. I am an author. I have appeared on some movies here in Louisiana. They call it Hollywood South. So I have enjoyed those things in my life. I do have a business called Selling You Your Dreams. It is a vision board building business where I talk you through building your vision. We do wash feet before we do our vision board because in John, God do speaks of washing the feet and he would bless you. So before the vision board building, we wash feet and then we go into building your dream. So I'm excited today to be here talking to my cousin Rochelle.
I'm so excited to have you. We've talked about this for so long. We've gone back and forth about it, and we're here. We're finally doing it. On her story. Her story, it means a whole lot to me. And before it was even created, you and I had some conversations about just being that voice for women, being that elder voice for younger women as we age now, and we're the older women, you know. And so this is part of that vision. This is part of that vision, being that voice. And that's why it's so important for me to have you here, because when I was a child, you were that older woman. You were that person that I can look up to, and you were already doing things in life and you could tell me different things. I remember you were traveling. So you were one of the first people that I knew that was traveling the country, you know, and aspiring for your dreams and following your dreams. So in saying that, I just want to ask you, you've watched an episode or two of our previous episodes of Her Story.
I have, and look, it just touched me in many ways. Um, I think through it all, I don't care where you from, and with you being out up north and I'm being down south, and you meeting women, it's funny how the circle continues to become round and close in
Right.
because we all share a form of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And in that pain, we grew to be these strong women,
Mm-hmm.
whether we know each other or not. You know,
Right,
we
right.
all share that one common thing.
Mm-hmm. You're so right, and that's what her story is about. That's what her story is about. Um, and in my traveling and across the country, I don't care who I talk to, what the race is, their culture, where they're from. I hear the same stories. I hear the same stories over and over again in one form or another, and they're just coming from different people at different age groups, you know. And so, and that's what's also giving me the freedom in sharing my story is that, hey, this is not just me. This didn't just happen to me. I'm not alone. And it's somebody that's hurting just like I was hurting and going through what I was going through and didn't think they have anyone there for them. So, in saying all of that good stuff, Miss Denise, what is it that you would like to share as part of your story? You have a an awesome story. I know there's a whole lot of different pieces to it. So what is it that you'd like to share today?
I think I want to come from the angle of we always have this perception of people without knowing the story.
Hmm.
So I think I want to kind of talk about my story. Um, Growing up in Slidell, young, my mother was a single mother. Um, she had two children. She was living with my grandmother. And at the time, my grandmother was, let me recognize our grandmother, Maddie Lee Thompson, um, out of Slidell. Well, we were living with grandmother along with grandmother's children that still remained home. And it was only a house with two bedrooms and no bath. So that tells you the beginning of my story.
Wow.
We grew up very poor. We was always full, but we grew up very poor. And let me tell you something. There is nothing like growing up and you're the kid that don't have.
Mm.
There's nothing like growing up in a house where everyone is in this one room. You're in that one square, and a lot of times your your dreams began in a bedroom because it's that one place you're sitting or you're lying and it's quiet and you can conjure up these dreams.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a poor kid and you are in a room with all these different people and everybody in the community is letting you know you're the poor one,
Mm.
I can't even begin to tell you the pain from that.
Mm.
And growing up in that neighborhood, I can't tell you nobody I looked up to. There was no one to look up to. I went to school. Oh my God. We just had little. I was that kid you saw walking around barefooted during the summer because we just didn't have the shoes. We may have had one pair of sandals after you broke those sandals. Our next thing was getting prepared for school. So you had to get prepared for school. And I just tell you this story of being poor and being tormented. Being that little girl that, yes, she lived in that two-bedroom house with that, joined in with the rest of the family. And then the big one, there was no bathroom in the house.
Mm. This is so interesting hearing this because I've known you my whole life and I've never known that. I've
No
I've I've,
bathroom.
I've never known that because that's not what it was by the time I came along, and I didn't
So
see that.
you're this girl growing up in this two-bedroom house. You're unable to dream or visualize yourself doing anything other than being in this two-bedroom house, going outside to go to the bathroom. When you're inside and it's late at night, there's a bucket.
Mm.
You use the bucket. But then you have to go face those kids the next day that's teasing you. You got those adults that's marking you, and you're getting older. And the world said that you're supposed to grow up and make it in this world. But as an adult, and I look back and I look at that little girl, and I can still feel that pain
Mm.
and how sad it was to not fit. We didn't fit. My brother and I, we didn't fit because we
Mm.
was those kids that just did not have.
Mm.
And the funny thing about a single mother, and she's proposed to with 2 children. And then she gets married. And now life is supposed to be so much better because my mother has gotten married. And he seemed very nice, warm-spirited, hardworking. He seemed very nice. And he pursued her. I remember her not really interested in getting married, and he pursued her. So as a single mother with 2 children, my mother got married.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved next door to the 2-bedroom house without a bathroom. So now we're in a 4-bedroom house and 1 bath, but it was a big house. And inside those walls was a mother and her 2 children and a stepfather and his 2 step. And my mother would go to work. She worked very hard. And my stepfather worked very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But there were days my stepfather was off. And he was the one watching his 2 step. And as he watched his 2 stepchildren, he began to like that stepdaughter. That stepdaughter was very strong. And she was determined that nobody was going to hurt her. Because one thing about growing up poor, you're strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's something people don't realize. Growing up
Mm-hmm.
poor makes you very strong.
Yes, it does.
So that's when his pursuit of, I guess, trying to groom the stepdaughter and grooming her to prepare for whatever he may have had in his mind. And I can remember my mother being at work and, all the kids could go outside and play, but I couldn't. I had to stay inside. So if nothing else, he could just look at me.
Mm.
And when you feel the presence of someone that looked as like an unclean look,
Mm-hmm.
and I dealt with that for many years, having a stepfather that provided for us and life got better. But there was something wrong in that house.
Mm-hmm.
There was something wrong with this stepfather, that stare, that look, that keeping me inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then he began to get bold. Well, he started telling me things like, I watched you as you slept at night, or in your legs and you're this and you're that. And I didn't know how to tell my mother because, again, a single stepmother
Mm-hmm.
that all she wanted was the best for her kid.
Right.
So she married this man that looked or appeared like he could provide for her and her 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
And it just went from there, verbally telling me different things. And I never forget one day, and as I was driving home today, actually, I felt some kind of way because I still feel some kind of way. But he drove me to a secluded area, and I can remember the lake, and I can remember being in the woods, and my spirit said, this ain't right. And my spirit said, he's either going to kill you or rape you. And I never told my mother. I never told her. And I think I may have mentioned it to my grandmother, but I've never told no one about these things. Because again, this is the poor kids that have finally gotten, the normal things that all the other kids have.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother worked very hard, but I was going through so many things with this man. And then it got to where I think when he realized, I don't think I'm gonna be able to manipulate this child into doing the things I would want her to do. So it became abusive.
Mm.
Then he would want to be disciplining. And as I grew up, I realized that in disciplining, there are some freaks that enjoyed hurting people that they could not have sexually. So he would always, find any reason to beat me. So
Ooh.
then I was abused physically.
Mm.
And I kept these things to myself, went to school and I just dealt with it. But I started having problems in school. And I wanted to finish school. By then I started dreaming. I started wanting this big world. It was so much then I wanted. But then I had this stepfather that now had this control over me. And mom being at work. Um, but in my dreaming, some kind of way I wound up being able to go to school. I wound up being able from school to go to modeling school. And I brought this little phone, which is so weird. This phone means the world to me. And the reason this phone means the world to me, in my struggles, my neighbor had one of these phones. And I would get on that phone and I would just pretend. I would pretend that I was in the most fanciest world. And I had left all that abuse and all that potential sexual something that I knew it was brewing.
Mm.
My neighbor had one of these phones, and I would get on that phone and I would just pretend I was in this amazing world. So when I saw this phone, I had to buy it because it brought back some of my childhood. And so people say, "What you doing with that phone?" It's connected to so much pain.
Mm.
But these things continued and the abuse just grew. And we moved from that house to our own home because we was renting. We moved into our own home behind that house. And by then I'm of age now where boys are wanting to come and visit,
Mm.
where there's competition.
Mm.
And Eric was coming to visit me. He would come over and he would help me with my math. He was real good with math.
Mm. Mhm.
Over and help me with my math. And so he was very jealous of that. Stepfather was very jealous of that. And so everything turned into a beating. You didn't wash the dishes. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna book you. I'm gonna do. Well, mom at work, and when she would come home, all of the destruction didn't happen.
Mm.
And I became angry. And Rochelle, that's how I got to know your dad. I got
Mm.
closer with your dad because I left home at a very young age. I left and I went over and I stayed with Uncle Jerry and Aunt Crystal. But they were in their own world and I was young and confused and I would watch your dad as he would build, and I never seen a man do the things your dad did because I didn't have a father like that. I had never seen a strong, hard-working man. So I got to be with your dad for a while, and then I went back home. Um, I quit school because battle.
About how long were you away?
I stayed with them maybe a couple of weeks, and then I went back. And your dad was always talking and teaching me, but I never told him anything. I didn't tell nobody. So he didn't know. He didn't, no one, they're going to be shocked when they hear this because no one knew what I was going through. My brother probably knew what I was going through, but no one knew what I was going through.
Right.
Eric knew, and now he's like wanting to protect me. And so he's becoming aggressive. And that's part of a story where I told you you can be with someone because you need them.
Mm.
That person becomes your security. It becomes everything you need. And it
Right.
on into the wrong areas. But I wound up quitting school because it was just too much for me. I just didn't feel like I had the strength, the support, and I just didn't have the endurance anymore to finish high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I quit school. I'll never forget one day I was in my bedroom. I had my own bedroom and I'm doing some sit-ups. And when I come up, I look and there's a hole in my wall from the master bedroom's closet. There's a hole in my wall. And so I'm freaking out. Somebody's been watching me.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking your clothes off in this room. You're doing everything in this bedroom. And I noticed, so I jump up and I run and I tell my mother. So now I have to expose all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we put a dresser, we block it and everything. And so we're in a state of shock. My mother, I know she's devastated. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is, she's finally in her own home. They're making good money. And now you have to go and face what you're married to.
Mm-hmm.
So this brings all kind of felt like division with the two of us because I know emotionally she's dealing with quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And not only dealing with, but now she's got to make some decisions.
Right. Right.
Our house is chaotic right about now.
Mm.
You got I guess you would say, my boyfriend wanting to kill him. You got my mom, she has no clue what to do. But yet, this is still a secret within the home.
Mm.
We have so many secrets within our homes,
We do. We
you
do.
know, that we don't share with anybody.
Mm.
And mama was trying to come to her conclusion. And we belong to this church called Disciples of Jesus. And it was a church, it was a very strict church. And sometimes I think that church, it gave me strength, but it did something to me because I decided one day mama wasn't moving fast enough for me to
Mm-hmm.
go to the church and let the church know I needed some help. But this is where the church can mess you up. To me, I felt like they laughed at me.
Mm-hmm.
They did not help me. They did not come into our home and counsel neither one of us. They kind of seemed like they thought it was funny. And I
Mm.
left that church. I left that church and I think I left home again. But I went back because God said, you go back.
Mm.
And I went back and I stood up and I testified. And I sung an old hymn that night. And it goes, I don't know why I have to cry sometimes, but there's going to be prophetic pain when trouble get out of my way. And I sung that song and I walked out of that church and I never
Mm-hmm.
went. And I don't think I went to another church because I was broken because you always felt like you can go to the church when you couldn't go to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't help at all. And mama wound up getting a divorce and she divorced him. But our family was broken. It
Right.
was
Right.
so broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point, it was so broken. I didn't know how to be a daughter to my mother, and I don't think my mother knew how to be a mother to me anymore because of this man.
Mm.
And we didn't know how to forgive each other. Um,
Y'all didn't know how to really talk about it. You didn't know how to talk
no,
about it.
no, it was so shocking and horrible. Yet we just didn't talk about it, you know. And before she divorced him, I had became so enraged. I never forget the last time he thought he was going to raise his hand to me, and Eric was over visiting that day, and he raised his voice at me, and I pulled this big old knife, and I was going to kill him
Mm-hmm.
in front of my mom, in front of anybody. I was just ready to kill him.
Right.
And when he called himself running up on me, and I came back with that knife, and I told him I would kill him that night. And I think everybody knew I was not playing.
Mm-hmm.
It was over. There was
Mm.
no family. There was no pretense. There was no, it's over. And
Mm.
that's when everything ended. When I decided I was going to kill that man,
Mm-hmm.
I was tired of the abuse. When I knew I couldn't go to the church, I knew then I'd kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that because it now makes me where I try not to get mad at people because they don't even know me.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even know to the extent that you keep messing with me what I'll do to you.
Mm-hmm.
So God has come into my life and he has taken control and keep me from going to that extent
Mm-hmm.
of getting that angry with people. I just walk away because they don't know what I've gone through. They don't know what's inside of you. But he left. By then, he had ruined us. I was out of school. I didn't know how to have a relationship with my mother. We were all messed up. But some kind of way, by the power of the Lord, he began to lift me. He began to deal with me. And I went to beauty school. Well, I did get with my first husband, and we had our first son. And I went on to beauty school and graduated from beauty school, and I had my twins. And just things just started for me. You know, I just started believing that I could. I just started believing in myself. And just things just started happening for me, you know. But in that marriage, being with someone from childhood to being an adult and having separate dreams, separate ideas of what a man and what a woman is supposed to be, and not having two people to show us what
Mm-hmm.
a man and a woman is supposed to be. I brought all my luggage of pain and suffering, and he brought all his
Mm-hmm.
pain and suffering into this union, into our children.
Mm.
And it was a struggle. It was a struggle, but it was something I know that we both wanted to work out. We
Right.
both was fighting that we didn't want to be statistics. We
Mm-hmm.
did want to be parents, raise our kids, give them the best life. And
Right.
like you said, we tried to do things. We tried traveling. We tried creating a safe space for other kids in our home. It was the place that other kids could come to. But
It
then it
was.
was the place of turmoil for my own children,
Mm.
you know. And in the evening times, you know, we would have our own battles. So we were saving kids because of what we had gone through. But we was just kids ourselves and really didn't know how to deal with situations. So our kids really needed saving because you're in this hooping and hollering and screaming.
Mm.
Two people that cared, but two people that was disturbed from their past, and no one
Right.
taught us how to be adults.
Mm-hmm. Back, back, you know, in back in the day, you know, they didn't have all these diagnoses that this is wrong with you and all these labels. And when something was going on with us, you know, we're gonna pray about it, and you know, it was dismissed.
Yeah,
It was dismissed. So we didn't know how to handle those things, and you know, we didn't know what to do. You just deal with it the best way you can, you know, and listening to you say those things, you never really got to deal with what you went through, because you went through it, you escaped from it, and then you started living your own life and
yeah,
trying to be a woman overcoming those pains.
correct, correct. That is absolutely right. Um, white people just, we dealt with things, everything was, let's just not talk about it. And
That's
if
what
we
we do.
don't
We
talk about it,
push it under
it'll
a
go
rug and
away.
we forget about it. Right.
It'll go away, but it don't, because you
Mhm.
carry those bags with you until one day God deliver you from it. And he did. He delivered me in a mighty way and taught me how to remain humble and try to talk through it. We did try those things. Later on we did get a divorce. We did try those things. And let me tell you, God has delivered me. I am blessed. I have an amazing husband, new husband, and I prayed for this man. I wrote down what I wanted, and God delivered it. I didn't have to go into the streets to find it. Hallelujah. He
Man,
found
amen.
me, and I looked at him and I said, now, I ain't a roundaway girl. So what's your plans? And God has just been good. God has been
Mhm.
so good. I'm able to bless others now through my vision board building. I'm able to just help young women or even the men work
Mhm.
out your situation, but claim it in the name of Jesus. Because
Amen.
everything you see right now through vision board building and writing down what it is I wanted in life, and I just continued writing and continued planning. And God just was just talking to me, and I was just writing through my troubles and my tribulations. I just kept writing and I just kept believing. I mean,
God.
I got down so before I got remarried, I was living in my beauty salon. And guess what? I did not care. I went home one day. I said, you know what, Lord? I'm more comfortable in my beauty salon. So I went to my beauty salon, and let me tell you something. I would open those curtains and say, this penthouse is the best penthouse there is. You
Amen.
gotta believe till you start fantasizing like a child all over.
Yes.
And let me
Yes.
tell you something, everything I fantasized about and I put on the vision board, God has truly blessed me. It took some years, my sister. It's gonna take some time. You gotta be patient and you cannot give up on God. And look, everything on that vision board, even Terrence Howard. I had Terrence Howard all wrinkled up and done faded on my vision board. But I'm here to tell you this year, Terrence Howard sung happy birthday to me. I do not know Terrence Howard, but God will connect you to the person that can connect you. And there was I myself had him to sing happy birthday. Who would have thought from just being
Right.
on a vision board? Who would have
Right.
thought? Dreams come true. Just
Hmm.
believe, just hold on and make plans. Make plans. I mean, it's like saying I'm going to New Orleans, but you
Hmm.
didn't put that in your GPS. You didn't write it down. You didn't look at a map. Have a destination where you're going.
Hmm.
And I promise you, you will make it there. You might not make it there today or tomorrow, but my girl, if it takes you a month to get there, you got there. You got
Right.
there.
Right.
So
You
I'm
are the
just,
true definition of manifestation over there. You
yes,
are the true
yes.
definition of manifestation. That's what I'm gonna start calling you, Miss Manifestation. So the situation from being a child, you know what I mean? You saw different. You had to imagine different. You envisioned a different life, and you got out of that. Along the way, changing up, and having to reform and just just becoming that woman in your travels and everything, that took that manifestation and believing in your dreams and those visions that this can be a whole lot better, in getting married and coming out of that marriage and staying in your shop. You were manifesting, you knew that this isn't the life I want to live anymore. You were manifesting the life that I want to live, and God brought all that together. And now you have it in full flesh right in front of you. This is the life I wanted to live. Now I know everything ain't perfect. Every day ain't the sun ain't gonna shine, you know. But I know you're
Can
there.
I say everything is perfect?
Okay, yes,
No,
just your life,
we
baby.
really have a habit of saying everything ain't perfect. But girl, I'm sorry to tell you, everything can be perfect.
Okay.
When God give you your partner, your real partner, and let me tell you something, God has been testing him. I told him, I said, you got me, you got 3 children, you
Uh-huh.
got 10 and a half grandchildren, you have a cat, you got a dog. My mother just had 3 strokes. I'm just coming from the hospital. We brought
Right.
her home Friday, Thursday. My husband got down on the floor. He pulled up the carpet. He made that room everything for my mother. So now we got a stroke victim in the house. He's lifting and picking her up. But a day later, she wound up back in the hospital. I want to tell my sisters that everything can be perfect. We've been
Ooh.
told that it cannot be perfect. But baby, this man ain't ran yet, okay? I can't afford this big, beautiful home he got me in. But guess what? He ain't going nowhere because he is in it. And because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't look for him. I didn't look for him.
Mm-hmm.
That man, I told God when I was in the salon living by myself while people was talking about me, while people was laughing at me, they didn't realize this crazy girl was in there building. I was building this life for me that has manifest, honey. Look, that man came through them doors. I told God, I said, I need $10,000 to come through these doors. It came. I said, God, I need my husband to come through these doors. His sisters came through. They said, are you married? I said, no. They said, my brother just retired. You see that Mercedes he pulled up with? He just went and bought that Mercedes and he don't have any. They sold him to me.
What?
Now I'm the one that had the baggage, and I should have been having an agent call him up and say, "Look, I'm her agent. Yeah, she has 3 children. Yeah, she got 10, 11, 20 grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? No, she live in her salon. And yeah, she drives that old Lexus that she gonna need probably a motor in a little while, and she don't have the money for it. I should have been the one with the agent, but this is how God works. But his sister's selling him. I mean, girl, I'm like, well, let me call and break up with so and so right now.
This pack.
They sold him to me, and I was like, honey, that man. But look now, he had been bringing his mother. His mother is 95, excuse
Okay.
me, years old. He had been bringing her to my salon, and he looked so mean. And I look and he said, how long we're gonna be? He's got this Cajun voice. And I'm like, she's gonna be here an hour, and turn my head. Little did I know that was my prince. He is amazing. He is so loving to his mother. Women, if y'all find a man that loves his mother, do not break it up. Stay in your lane and let him love on his mother. He loves you different. The
Mm-hmm.
love a husband has for you, he don't have that for his mother. He's got another nurturing love for his mother. And I just want to say this because so many women feel like they need to divide, they need to compete. If you
Mm-hmm.
allow that man to love on his mother and you stay in your lane, see, we done got carried away with um staying in our place as a woman. Stay in your
Mm-hmm.
place. You're the
Right.
and he's gonna take care of you. So that man, he is a blessing. But Rochelle, you asked what made me leave home. I'm gonna tell y'all this, ladies. If you don't listen to God, you gonna get your whooping. I was supposed to leave my house maybe 10 years earlier. I left and I was at my mother's house, and God woke me up and He said, "Don't go back." He said, "I'll take you places you never dreamed." Now, at this time, my biggest thing and my biggest dream was a Jaguar, a car.
Mhm.
Simple mind, simple mind. And I'm
Well,
going to
something you ain't had before, so you know.
Oh, darling, simple mind. I was
Okay.
simple. God would, if He told you, don't go back, I'm going to take you places you never dreamed.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, God. I jump up and I write it down. While I'm gone, God introduces me to a Jaguar. But it was a JAG, it was an officer of the military. He was one of your big officers in the military.
Okay, okay.
Do you get it?
I
I'm
get it. I
thinking
get it.
very small.
Wow.
What did God tell me He would do for me?
Mm,
He
mm,
said,
mm.
I will take you places you never dreamed if you don't go back. Well, what did I do? After I meet this officer that is a JAG check, that can give me the lifestyle, an aristocrat lifestyle,
Mhm.
because he, no, I brought my simple self back because
So was it
I
that you didn't really get the headline, you didn't really see the message, you didn't what was it?
fear of leaving what you already know.
Mhm.
See, y'all, you get comfortable over there.
Baby, you preaching to me right now.
That's what happens. You get comfortable. So you got this Prince Charming sitting before you, taking you places you never dreamed, hands off,
Mhm.
you going through.
Mhm.
But I respect you as this woman that I see you to be. Um, oh, and I dropped it and I went on back home.
Mhm.
I lost my Jag
Jag.
and I never got it again.
Okay.
So, baby, when I left this time, when the spirit said, now you have done all the old folks used to say, you'll know,
Mhm.
you'll know. So I had been going to the salon and I had been staying very late.
Mhm.
And then all the other women were staying very late. So I would turn the lights out and I would turn these lamps on. So it was just beautiful. The salon is beautiful. So it was just
It
beautiful.
is.
And they didn't want to leave. So it
Oh.
would be 12, 1 o'clock, and I'm accused of being with men, and we just in the salon and we're just talking and sharing, and I'm there uplifting them and counseling them, and
Mm.
they don't want to go home to their beautiful homes. And I'm knowing they have beautiful homes. I mean, I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? But
Right.
that shows how many women will go where it's comfortable over going home, how unhappy they are.
Mhm.
So I got a
Yeah.
salon full of women. Your hair been finished. It's 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So I go home for the last time and I didn't eat. Girl, I just left. I didn't pack no
Your,
whole lot of nothing. I may have taken like 2 outfits and I was gone.
your spirit wouldn't let you stay.
The old folks say, honey, you'll know. And when I
Mhm.
left, I knew this is it. I would no longer
Mhm.
come back to this house. My kids
Mhm.
was raised. He had found whatever he wanted to do in life because he was never home. Uh,
Mhm.
I was always at work and doing whatever I did. So we had grown apart and it was okay
Mhm.
because, like the old folks said, I knew. Or
Right.
like Oprah would be doing, okay, you knew. Yeah, I knew it was done. And I was in my salon with so much joy. So
Mhm.
I would do my client's hair And then when they would leave, I'd close up my curtains, but I had this big window. I would leave this one big window open. And I would stand in that window. I'm in Slidell. So there's no high rises, there's no towering buildings. And I
No
was,
sightseeing.
no, baby, it was none. But I just want to let people know the power of an imagination, the
Mm,
power of building a vision board. So when I tell you, come set up a class about vision board building, it's because I done been there. I'm not telling you nothing I haven't experienced. So
mm,
I would go to this window and I turn all my lights off in the salon and I had my little lamps. My God, it was comfortable. It was
mm.
heaven.
You're right.
The first time I had ever found peace. And I would open up these curtains and I would stand there and I said, my Lord, look at you. You gave me this townhouse overlooking the city.
Okay.
And I would just, every night I would say that. And sometimes my ex-husband would pass and he'd go, close those curtains. People passing through there and they see those curtains open and they're going to come kill you. But my spirit say, honey, let the moon shine. And the moon was sitting right there. And it was my light.
Mm,
And I would go into this deep imaginary world about overlooking all these lights of the city. And
mm.
I was in this penthouse. And honey, when God sent me Prince Charming, and that man put me in this penthouse of a house, I had to shout when I realized this house is decorated like a penthouse.
It so is.
And when
It
I
so
went
is.
outside, and that man don't know nothing about the lights that I had spoke about it. He had a million lights in my backyard.
Mm.
That is overlooking the city, as much city as we have.
It
I
so is.
am overlooking 10 and
Mm.
all the lights that surround all the businesses. I said, ain't God good?
Wow.
And this
Wow.
man didn't know nothing about all these. Now I'd be like, turn some of them lights out. Why you got so many lights? But he never knew that I was imagining I was in the city of lights.
Right, right.
And then my house got a million lights. And I'm like, turn some of them lights out. My God, your God is so lit up. But God said, I gave you your heart's desire. You said
Right.
light, I'm giving you more light than you imagine. You ain't got
Uh-huh.
to go outside and look. And when you go outside, this man, I done whispered in his ear, fill it up with lights. Rochelle, I can preach all night on God's grace and mercy.
Mm-hmm.
When he delivered you out of the valley and he sit you on that mountaintop, he said everything you went through was for a testimony. I want you to testify to those that don't know how to come out of the valley. I want you to be that testimony. And I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to testify, girl, when God said, wash feet before you do them vision boards, I said, who you talking to? He said,
Amen.
I'm talking to you. So I went to call and I wanted to call ministers. I said, Lord, I'm not no minister. I cannot do the things that you are
Mm-hmm.
asking of me. And then he
Mm-hmm.
said, I want you to go and read it. And when I read it, it didn't say pastor. It said, when you come together, you wash feet. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, wait a minute, Lord. I wash hair in this beauty salon. And I wrote this book. And this book is called Salon Therapy. And in this book, I talked about the women at the well. So
Mm.
even in my ignorance, I was talking about cleansing.
Mm.
Even in my ignorance, as I shampooed my client's hair and I testified to God's grace and mercy, I was cleansing. I was
Mm.
cleansing not only their hair, but their minds. So when he told me, you done washed the top of the head that I have anointed, now you going to wash the bottom of their feet. And they
Ooh.
are going to walk into the glory of their vision. He said, I didn't tell you to go get your pastor. I didn't tell you to go and get somebody down the street. I told you. Now you're going to be interviewing a young lady, and I can't wait till you when you interview her. Yeah, you're going to shout because she has had her feet washed and she has built her vision board. And Lord, we were down. We have a Lord, we have our land between us. And she was just a shouting and a running and talking about her feet washed and building that vision board. And I'm gonna let her testify to the amazing things that is going on in her life. She said it has spilled over to her husband. But the Bible says that a saved woman, she saves her husband. So when she built that vision board, she built it, and now he is prospering from her vision because he is under the umbrella of the saved wife. And girl, I don't want to turn this into no preaching, but I just want young women to know that, baby, you got to visualize yourself doing better. I don't care if you in a one-bedroom shack. Like my grandma said, keep your shack clean, but visualize you are living a better life. I was living in my salon. And don't you know, I know people was talking about me. I did not care. I kept my head held high. I kept myself looking good and fancy because I was waiting on my deliverance. Sisters, you gotta wait on your deliverance. Your husband might not come to you tomorrow. Your husband might not come. Don't tell me you've been waiting 10 years. My mother married her Prince Charming 20 years after her divorce. You gotta wait on God because just like he preparing you, he preparing him.
Yes,
and you rush God and run up on something that ain't for you. And now you want to look at God and say, well, look at this. He didn't, but my grandma said, he didn't put you with him. And now you mad. You gotta wait, my sister. Wait. I promise you, everything that you pray to God for and you write it down and make a vision, which is that vision board, I promise you, you're going to walk into it. I done been through that. I just told you a little bit. I have gone through, but everything I've gone through, I use it as a testimony. And I love when people think I'm down. And then when they see me come up, he said, I will make you. What do you do? Them, your enemies will be your what?
Your footstool. Gonna make them enemies your
footstool. They done
footstool.
went around and talked about you, but now they got how you got your husband. I didn't go looking for him. I laugh. I say, now I know you was talking about me in this salon, but now you want to come over here and get the magic, huh?
Right. There's something about having the favor of God, being favored. You know what I mean? Staying faithful and true in your belief. Staying faithful. Having the faith of a mustard seed. You stay faithful in your dream. You stay faithful in your vision, and those visions were your vision that God gave you.
I didn't have nobody paving the way. I didn't have nobody. I didn't see nobody paving the way, Rochelle. I didn't see it. You know, it's only God's grace and mercy. You know, and I'm truly believing that you are born with a vision.
I
And it's
believe
when
that.
God manifests, when he pulled the veil over, and then you realize that I am filled with something. Because nobody told me to be somebody. You know, they told me to be good, serve God, go to work. But I feel like I was born with this. God had already had the plan for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all have everything inside of us already to be what it is that God is calling us to be and walk in our purpose. However, it's those experiences and those things that we're told along the way to where we can't see it and then we don't believe it and those visions get cloudy. And now we're living somebody else's dream and somebody else's vision. And just like the situation you went through, now I'm a victim of something, you know what I mean? Because some of us wind up victims and don't know how to come out of that victim state. You know, I used to tell my girls all the time, look, there's predators and there's prey. There's predators and there's prey.
That's
So,
what I
you know,
say too.
If
Predators are,
you're not prepared for that predator, you're gonna be the prey.
that's right.
You're gonna be the prey. And this world is not sugar coated. It ain't peaches and cream, and it ain't pretty out here. And we have to prepare our children. Um, and we do the best we can. Something that you mentioned that I hear, and I've gone through it myself with my own girls. We try to protect our children. Um, and we try to protect our children as much as we can in our own homes. And we try to keep them safe from predators and from people coming in. But most of the time, it's somebody that's close to us, close to the family, that's actually being the predator, and that's touching our children, and that touched us when we were children. Um, I had a similar experience when I was a kid, and I haven't shared it. And it happened to with me and one of our cousins grew up with us as a cousin. And we were both molested at the same time as a child. Grandma sent us somewhere to get some sugar. She sent us down by somebody's house to get some sugar. And, we just getting the sugar, and we're young girls, and we wound up being molested by somebody much older. And I've never spoken on this. I've never spoken on this. And she and I have never talked about it again as adults, you know. But most of the time, it's someone that's close to us, somebody that's in the family, and just like you explained, we don't know who to talk to. We don't want to damage the family. We don't want to. We don't. You see, Mama, she's happy. This done changed our life situation. So you telling what could that have done? How could that have changed things? And those are the things that we think about in these situations. But it's the children that pay for it, and then we don't understand why these children are behaving like this. Mama, my aunt couldn't understand what was going on with you.
Right,
She didn't necessarily go through it firsthand, so all she could really do was sympathize with
right,
what you went through as best as she could. But then also as a parent, you feel like you let your child down. You
right,
didn't do everything you could to protect that child.
right.
And that time period where y'all really didn't talk, I want to say that that's probably what it was.
Oh, yeah,
You felt like she should have protected you, and she should have known, and she felt like she should have protected you, or she should have seen it or known ahead of time, you know. And in life we get so consumed with just trying to live, just
yeah,
trying to pay the bills, that oftentimes we don't dig deep, and we don't see the underlying, and we can't see the signs, you
exactly.
know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Insane. I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's just, it's a cycle, in our
Mhm.
community. And I think our future generation will be able to talk about it. I think our future generation will get some help. Um, I think that the whole world is turning around now more to abuse and mental illness, all those different things that go on that are kept a secret. I think we're going to see a difference.
You did you just said a key thing, secret. And in our community, in our homes, it's those secrets. On my last episode, I spoke about, not knowing why I was treated, how I was treated about by my mom. And it was those secrets. You know what I mean? I had never heard the things my dad told me, that hey, she was seeing somebody else and she wanted you to be for somebody else. And so okay, I was treated this way my whole life because of that, but this was a secret, right? And so as a child, I heard, hey, your mama don't like you, your mama hates you. I never understood why, but that was also part of that same secret that, and then growing up, we're trying to figure out, hey, why are things like this? Why am I treated like this? Why do they behave this way towards me? And nobody wants to tell the truth.
Right.
However, in that truth, there's liberation.
Yes.
There's liberation in that. And I believe we all owe that to our children, to our grandchildren. Hey, just tell the truth. Just
Right.
be honest, because that not telling the truth caused so much pain and so much trauma. And hey, if I could just be woman enough and adult enough to just be honest about it, not for me, but for you. and not just for you, but for your children, to break some of these pains and these things that we keep holding on to and keep having these cycles and these generational curses.
Yes. And I feel like young women, you have to act without fear. Uh,
Mhm.
know that God is going to carry you. You may have to let that person go, but you have to know that God is going to carry you. He's going to take care of you and your children, but you have to move on. You
Mhm.
cannot stay in that same house, or you cannot allow that predator to stay in that same house. You have to immediately take action to save you and your child. The relationship that you're going to have in the future depends on the way you respond to that particular child telling you what's going on. I
Right,
know it may be kids that may create stories or whatever, but in your heart, you know the truth, and you
right.
need to act upon that, and that is to save you and generations. I mean, that pain can go on, and you lose grandkids and whatever. So it's generational pain that you are saving if you act quickly by getting away from that predator.
I agree. I agree. I saw something recently where I think they called out a predator. The community just called him out, like let everybody be known that way he wouldn't do that, those things to anybody else, and so that everybody's aware. Um, but yeah, we have to make our children aware, and we got to fight that thing. We got to stop doing what it is that we've been doing that allows them to allow these things to keep happening. But we also need to, like you say, when your children, we have to pay attention to our children. Some people don't know their children as well as they should because they're not paying attention, and their attention is focused everywhere else, or there may be some type of substance that's keeping you from paying attention. So now this child is over here drowning and dying and literally begging for help, and you can't see it, and
Yeah,
all they have is you.
yeah.
All they have is you. You know, you said a lot tonight. You said a whole lot, and I really appreciate you sharing all of that. And I know that was hard for you. Almost most of what you said I never heard before, and I've known you my whole life, so I know it took a lot for you to come out and say those things. Um, in your journey, because I know you got a whole lot of a journey. You talked about, that childhood pain and overcoming that. Let's talk about some of the great things that you've done along the way, that and I understand that pain was probably the fire that fueled your successes. So after overcoming that childhood, that pain, when you say something just lifted and you overcame that, being married and having him is kind of that protector, that shield from that. Let's talk about what happened after that, in raising your kids and how you began to triumph.
Um, Actually, my life started shifting while I was still in the first marriage. I remember that going to work, coming home, sitting in the same, I was literally sitting on the same spot of the couch every day. I was like, oh my God, I sat here yesterday, the day before. This is not happening tomorrow. Now, granted, I felt like I was born to be an actress. Okay. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to acting school. I'm going to take my acting classes. And then something said, okay, so you're going to New Orleans by yourself. And I answered back, yes, I am. If I got to
Okay.
get there 2 hours early, circle so I can park in front of the door, I'm going. So that was a
Mm-hmm.
challenge. Satan here and God saying, it's time for you to move.
Mm-hmm.
Satan saying, oh, so you're going to drive to New Orleans by yourself and you're going to park and walk. So I was like, no, I'm going. I'm going to go an hour early so I can drive around so that car moves and I park in front. So I get on the phone and I find this acting coach. And, class may have been like $350 or whatever. So now I need to find that money. When God is for you, girl, that money came up. Okay. So I
Mm-hmm.
always had the money to pay for my classes. And I'm driving way out how far was I? I mean, I'm going way down Carrollton and all this to get to my acting class.
Okay,
It was in
okay.
some restaurant. So I'm doing it. I'm like, you know what? In order for me to have a change in my life, I need to do something different. But I will
Right.
not be sitting on that couch anymore. And I didn't. I started going to this acting. I started meeting all kind of people. Then I started, God will make you, he will take you when you don't qualify,
Mm.
and he will qualify you. So
Amen. Yes, he
if you
will.
speak to any actor or, they're going to tell you to become SAG. Oh my God, they went through all this to become SAG. But it was like God put me with this teacher that was on the board of SAG and all this stuff. So I'm like, how did I meet you? Nothing but
Okay,
God.
okay, okay.
So she's teaching me, she's giving me these speaking roles. I'm terrified. I'm freaking out. And she's like, no, ma'am, you're going to do this. And she made me come out of the shell. And from there, just everything just started growing for me. I started working with amazing people, Niecy Nash and Morris Chestnut and Kevin Hart. And I'm working with all these amazing people. And God is just amazing. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm living my dream. Because as a little girl, I told you about the telephone. I would play on it that I was famous. It stayed
And
Becky.
now,
I was
and
famous.
now,
And God
right.
heard me. He heard me. So kids, even when you joking, God already got it planned, and you think I'm joking around or whatever. But I was really serious. I was gonna be
Uh-huh.
famous.
Mm-hmm.
God blessed me to work with some amazing people. I wrote this book called Salon Therapy. And I wrote Salon Therapy because so many women would come into my salon and
Mm-hmm.
they would share with me all this pain. And they would share with me all their secrets and hurt. So
Mm.
I took that, and let me tell you the pain I went through to write this book. I was told how dumb I was. You too retarded to write a book. You're not.
Mm. Wow.
Read your book. Who's gonna buy your book? You so stupid. I can write a book better than you, but I just haven't wrote the book. But you go ahead on and write your. I wrote my book, and I say I wrote it all in ignorance, but I have.
Mm.
Okay, I'm not smart, but I wrote a book. I say
Amen.
that to say when God put a word in you, I don't care if it's misspelled. You're going to write it. This
Mm-hmm.
book, women have come to me crying, many of them, because of the words in this book. It's a beautiful book, and you can find that book. It's called Salon Therapy. Lay Your Burdens Down by the Beauty Shop by Denise Thompson. It's on Amazon. It's an amazing book to read. It's a tearjerker. It makes you laugh and brings out a lot of emotions. But in my acting experience, I asked God, I said, God, send me somebody that I can go to a lot of these things with, because the world of acting, you got to be very popular. You got to be very aggressive, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
aggressive. God
Okay.
sends me this aggressive girl. Her name is Paris. Paris is very aggressive. She's from Africa, and she is in your face. All the questions need to be asked. She's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting, and two people walk in, and I speak to everybody. See, Grandma always said it don't cost you nothing to speak. So I
Uh-huh.
speak to everybody. So they came in. I didn't know them. Hi, how y'all doing? They go to the back. Little did I know those people were looking for their main character in a movie. So this is the book. I knew nothing about these people. I had to drive out to Lafayette and I auditioned.
Okay.
And I got the main character in this book.
Wow.
We did the short film. Uh, Again, I'm not no lead star. I didn't feel like I was ready to lead, but God will qualify you to be the lead.
Mm-hmm.
This short film went all the way to Hollywood. So
Oh,
I got
wow.
recognized in Hollywood for this book. Not for the book, but the short film. So I got credit. Again, I qualified to be SAG. I just choose not to be. And all those qualifications was God saying, I'll qualify you. What man may say you don't qualify, what man has called you too ignorant to write anything.
Mm-hmm.
Man came along and got all upset because the character was Eric when I didn't even know these people. So they changed the character's name in the movie so that he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't pass out. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And I have had some amazing experiences through I can only say God's grace and God's mercy and Him knowing what it was I wanted. And me
Mm-hmm.
at this time stepping out on faith and realizing you wasting your talent and your time on that couch. When you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again, I'm going to tell you, God ain't pleased with you. He
Mm-hmm.
got me. He said, how long you gonna sit on this couch?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to move, and I did. And guess what? Every day I went to acting class, my scary self got the front row park, and I was parked right in front of the door. How about God? How does He work?
Don't it work it out for you?
Don't He work it out? Then I
Don't it
went
work it
and
out for
took
you?
this class with a guy, Lance Nichols. You see him on all the movies. And one day I had to park in the back. I remember running. I had to run. I'm like, let me hurry up in this class. And then we leave and everybody just take off. And I ran back to my car, but that was the only time that everything else was right in front of the door. Man, when God is for you, He lay everything out.
Yes. Yes. God is so intentional. God is so intentional, and we be taking God for granted. We be belittling God, thinking, "Oh, this ain't big enough," or baby, you ain't thinking big enough." God is
No,
so intentional, and He put the right people in
yes.
our path. Hold on.